Welcome to Flights, the podcast where we uncork the secrets to running a successful destination wedding and group travel business. Each episode, we will explore the good, bad, and ugly of destination weddings while sipping on the finest wines from our pantries.
As your hosts, we believe in savoring the journey with a glass of wine in hand. Join us, Mario Lopez and Ashley Morris of Destination Wedding University, as we explore all of the adventures and misadventures that we experience in this crazy industry.
Okay, all right. Welcome to episode 3 of Flights. I am one of your hosts, Mario Lopez. We have Ashley Morris here. Hi, Ashley.
Hi.
Hi.
Pouring my wine. I'm getting ready.
Welcome. I've got mine. What are you drinking today, Ashley?
This is a lovely bottle that I stole from the hotel in South Africa last week. It is a Sauvignon Blanc, which is normally not my jam, but the wine in South Africa was different. Somebody told me because it's mostly organic and it doesn't have as many sulfites, I feel like you could drink a lot more of it and not really, like I should have felt much worse than I did on a couple of the days that we were there. I'm kind of liking it.
That was my experience with wine in Italy. I could drink much more of it. And I don't care about the sulfites. Free is always my flavor, so I'm good with that.
I should say we also did buy wine and brought it home like normal people, but this was in the hotel, and right before we were leaving, I snagged it. I'm like Ross Geller in a hotel room. I will take everything that's not nailed down. So on brand.
I am drinking Côte du Rhône.
Oh, that's a good one.
Oh, is it?
That's heavy. It's a heavy one.
Do you not know? I know it's 1 o'clock in the afternoon. Well, 2 o'clock here in the afternoon. So a heavy one at 2 o'clock sounds like a great idea. Melissa, do you have wine with you?
I do. I'm drinking wine left over from last December, the Advent wine box. Have you gotten that from Costco?
Yes.
So it's rosé from Italy.
Very nice. Didn't open it last December.
No, just cracked it open today.
Okay. Otherwise, this is like Melissa drinking vinegar on the podcast.
No.
On that note, we'd like to welcome Melissa Lisell. Welcome to the podcast. We're so happy to have you.
Thank you for having me. This is exciting. It's not intimidating at all.
At all. Not intimidating. Plus, after half a bottle of these wines, it's not going to matter anyways, right? So, yes.
And we have our first dog bark.
The first one of many throughout the podcast. It's okay. We encourage them. So,
chime in.
Melissa, we wanted you to join us today because you are actually one of our OGs in the Playbook. You've been with us since 2018, part of the second course that launched with the Playbook. So welcome.
Thank you.
We wanted to talk to you a little bit today, just kind of about like your experience in the Playbook and what it's done for your business and why you joined. And so we'll kind of go through everything, kind of walk through your journey. We want people to hear why we're doing this, not from us, right?
Okay.
Like it's really easy for us to be biased and say, it's the most amazing program and you're going to do phenomenal. But we want to hear some real life examples about why people got into it and where they went with it. What do you got, Ashley?
But I'll also add, we're in episode 3-ish. We think this is going to be. I don't want people to think this is just, like a whole season long commercial for the Playbook either. The other reason that we wanted to bring Melissa on is because she has a really unique story with her prior career and how she came into travel and is part of a family business, which is really cool. So we have, of course, a ton of questions for you on that.
All right. I'm an open book. Ask away.
So on that exact same note, you used to be a school teacher, correct?
Yes. 2nd and 3rd grade for 12 years.
Planning weddings and travel is probably just like that.
Yeah.
I mean, it's herding cats for sure.
Tell us a little bit about, first of all, tell us a little bit about being a school teacher and what that all entailed and what went into your work. And then tell us about your transition over to travel.
Okay. The transition is not a short story, but I will try and just stick with the highlights. I have known since I was a little girl, like probably before kindergarten, that I wanted to be a teacher. Like that was my end goal. So all through middle school, high school, like that was my focus, chose my college based on that, went right into teaching, like I said, for 12 years. But my mother had an agency, or didn't have an agency at that time. She worked with an agency while I was in high school and college. And so naturally, summers, holidays, like I helped out. I answered phones. I filed, I can't even tell you how many brochures. Those were the days where they just bring in like a box full. But kind of did all the things and snuck into travel. And in 2009, she made the decision to go off on her own. And when she did that, I kind of got pulled in a little bit more. And then that's when my friends started making the connection, which it was a great time because I graduated college in 2005. So 2009 is when everybody starts getting married and they need a honeymoon, a trip. They're doing bachelorette trips, all of that. So actually my first group trip was my college roommate's bachelorette trip. And we went to Cozumel, and we won't talk about that. It was,
What
it
happened
was Cozumel.
there? Yeah.
We're gonna save that story for after the bottle of wine.
Yes. Yeah. All the stories. But we had fun. So it was just kind of a natural progression. And again, I kind of it was word of mouth. So kind of came in that way. My father got sick though, cancer, and it came, it went, it came back. And during that, I kind of just jumped in more just to help my mom out, just to take things off of her plate. And so started kind of taking on some of her clients, doing more in depth. And again, she was sucking me in. I think she knew it. She pulling me to the dark side, but I didn't realize it. And then in 2014, Destination Wedding literally fell in my lap. It was somebody I went to high school with. She was working with an agent. Her agent got engaged and just ghosted her before ghosting was a word. And so she reached out to me, and my mom does a lot of group travel. I'd helped out with all of that. So I kind of understood how group worked, the accounting, just how organized you have to be. Same thing with teaching. I pulled a lot of that skill in and took it over and realized this is great. Like all of these people want to go to the same place, the same days. Like, why would I not do this? And so continue doing that for 3 more years. And in 2018, I had 2 weddings traveling the exact same weekend in April. And I was overwhelmed working 2 full-time jobs, not sleeping. And my mom took me out to dinner and said, I'm asking as your mom, not your boss, but pick a career. I don't care. Pick one. And the next day I walked into my principal and said, the last day of school will be my last day of school.
Oh, wow. How did that go over?
They were very supportive. They knew that I'd been doing this and that my business had been ramping up. In fact, one of the weddings I had done the year before was a teammate of mine. So I don't think it was necessarily surprising, but it was a do it scared moment. I mean, I had butterflies, not just in my stomach, all over my body walking in. That's really scary to walk away. Background, I'm not married. So I'm single, having to support myself. So it was terrifying, but I feel like I made the right decision. I didn't have to do COVID in a classroom or teach virtually. So that was a saving grace.
But it is scary, but it's also really brave. Like it's really admirable and brave. Hold on, something's popping up. I don't know what that is right in the middle of the screen. Sorry. It is really brave, especially when you're solely responsible for yourself. You don't have someone else to fall back on, just in case there's not someone paying your mortgage. Like it's all on you. I think that's really brave.
Yeah, it was scary. It was also a season of change for me. I'd been in a committed relationship. We'd been together for 5 years. We lived together. Again, a story for another time, but that ended. And the next year is when I made the decision to walk away from teaching. So I kind of felt like it was just one of those times in my life where I just had to do it.
Yeah.
That's amazing. That's awesome. Yeah. And I'm so glad you did. I mean, it comes from a different perspective, right? When you're doing it with the family business and you're taking on a whole different niche within the family business, that had to be like a proving moment for you as well, right? Like it was different. So let me start here because I'm talking like 3 different things here. So first, tell me a little bit about the amazing Luann, because I have heard about her, but this will lead into a little bit of what we're talking about. Tell me a little bit about your mom.
So my mom she's who I want to be when I grow up. Say that as a 40-year-old. But she's amazing. And I'm not the only one that thinks that. I just got back from our consortia conference this weekend, and I had several people tell me the exact same thing. She is independent and just probably the strongest person that I know. I'm not going to get emotional. This is like minute 5. Oh my gosh.
It's what we do on here.
We're getting dangerously close to the territory of people coming on this podcast and crying.
Jeez, yes. I should have known this. I didn't even bring tissues. Jeez. But she's honestly just so driven. Travel, this whole agency was a side hustle for her. Like even when she opened her own agency in 2009, she has another business that is very successful, consulting HR. So the fact that she has 2 full-time jobs as well is kind of crazy. She is leaning more towards the retirement now. I think she travels more than she sleeps in her own bed.
She's gone a lot.
Yeah. But she is, I mean, she's your typical career mom. My sister and I, she had both of us went on maternity leave and was asking, when can I come back to work? Like she was not a sit-at-home person. She's created this agency though, and it's a family feel. Like we do have ICs, we do have employees, but we're family. Like we can all just support each other through the good and the bad. But yeah, she's who I want to be when I won't say her age, she'd kill me. But yeah.
But it's like family in the sense of the word. And it's also your actual family because your sister and Charles are part of the business too, right?
Yes. And it's our name. Like it's our last name is the agency. So, but yes, her husband, Charles, she remarried we lost my father. She remarried then in 2019. And he's been part of the travel industry longer than any of us. Which is kind of cool. And he brings a unique perspective, especially in the area of river cruising. And then, yes, my sister works for the agency. She also works for the HR company. So it's just, we're all intertwined. Her husband's a photographer. He's our photographer. So all of our headshots and everything. Yeah, we absolutely love it. So all 4 of us are involved. And then our ICs are part of the team, part of the family. So it's really a unique kind of perspective. It is hard though working with family because
that was my next question is what happens if surely when you agree on things, it's great, but if you disagree on something, what happens?
So it doesn't happen as often, but I think we all know how to push buttons and we know each other's buttons.
As family does.
So if I'm having a bad day, the phone rings and it's mom or it's my sister. Sometimes I'm not as nice as I would be if it was not my mom or my sister. And I will apologize for that. And, I think we all recognize that. Sometimes we'll call each other out. Like, I don't like the way you're talking to me. Okay.
That's healthy though. Now we're back to the therapy and the crying. This is good.
Yeah. So we definitely all recognize that. I think the hardest part with it being a family business family agency is we don't turn it off. So like every family dinner circles back around to something business related. Like, oh, did I tell you about this client? Or how do you want to handle this? Or what are we going to do for this? We also never get like a true vacation. Like as a travel agent, you never get a true vacation. You're always thinking like, oh, would my client like this? And where's the Instagram shot and whatever. But here comes one of the dogs. You can hear him clicking.
Oh, yeah, I can see him.
He's part of the family too. But yes, it seeps into every part of our lives. And so it's really hard. And we try to make a conscious effort of that, especially now that my niece and nephew are in there, are part of the mix. We don't want them to grow up that way. But I would say that is the hardest. It's not so much disagreements, but just life work balance.
And boundaries.
That was always something so when I left my previous life, our agency owner, Seema, amazing person. He sat me down. He's like, okay, he also works with his spouse and said, you guys need to set a time, whatever that time is. It could be 10 o'clock at night, but set a time. And this is when the conversation stops. And this is when you do not talk about work, no matter how dire it is. And if you need to go handle something, you go handle it in another room. And that was some of the best advice that he gave me, because Will and I, same thing. We had such a hard time turning off the business and, having a civil familial relationship on the side, right?
Well, you mentioned even going into a different room, the advice that you got. Melissa, do you guys have a brick and mortar, like an office, or are you all remotely? Like, how often are you working side by side?
We're all home based. So
Okay.
it's rare, but like this morning we had our team meeting. So we all gather and mom's house is the headquarters, which is nice. We use either the dining room table, which is kind of set up like a conference room. Today we're in Texas, so it's cold. And by cold, I mean 56 degrees. So we were in the living room so we could be by the fireplace. So we do work together, but not necessarily. But we have tried to set like a time, especially like with my sister, with kids. Like we don't call unless it's a work emergency after basically the kids come home, or at least 4 or 5-ish, just for respect there, because that's not fair to her to pull her away from family dinner or bedtime or whatnot. It doesn't always happen, but we try.
Absolutely. I think as long as you make the effort, that's the biggest thing, right?
Yep.
So before we move on to kind of the next topic, one thing I wanted to ask is bringing in groups into the family business. Do you feel like you are heading up that piece of the business and that like you have something to prove with it? How was that transition within the business?
So I'm trying to think how to even approach this question. Again, we're going to go back. Yep. I told you it's complicated, but my mom got into travel and connected with the host agency she was with before because she did group travel. And it started out with like our youth groups with church. And then it kind of transitioned from there. And then she started picking up student groups and we'd take them to New York City and kind of organize that whole thing. So groups have always been part of the DNA of our agency. And so when I was starting to take on groups, like I said, I kind of knew already the back end and I knew what it looked like to escort a group versus not, and room blocks, contracts, all of that was not new to me. It was new to me to be responsible for it. So in the very beginning, I was having her, check this contract before I sign it. Do these terms make sense? I still won't touch an air contract because those scare the living daylights out of me.
On board.
Yeah, but we kind of did that. And then I think after I did probably 2 destination weddings was when she was like, all right, I'm starting to transition towards retirement, which I don't think she'll ever fully retire. As I said, she's a career woman, but she started handing off some of those New York groups and some of the others. So I started taking those over. And then there is that pressure, like, don't drop any balls, don't make any mistakes, like just keep it going. But it also freed up time for her. She does a lot of travel with groups, which I know, Ashley, you, I think, talked about on one of the other episodes. That's kind of the travel you want to do. Like, where do I want to go? And then invite people to go with. And that's really what she does 2 to 3 times a year. She just picks a destination and off she goes. She's in Egypt right now. And is already planning to take a group in 25, and we've already got it contracted. So
that's amazing.
That's really
cool. So
how do you guys have distinct roles? Like, are you focused on one type of travel versus your sister versus your mom? Like, how do you guys divide your specialties?
So that's a good question. My sister does not book any travel right now. She is not client facing. She is behind the scenes and support and our website guru. I handle all of the all-inclusive, really. If a request comes into my mom, she just hands it off. She kind of picks and chooses what she books at this point. As she should. She should be able to relax. So she does a lot of travel groups, a lot of luxury, high end, and ocean cruising. And then I'm sorry about his toenail. So I should have clipped him. So she does a lot of that. And I really do all of the all inclusive, the destination weddings. And then I do a lot of Europe FITs. So that's mine. The other thing when I stopped teaching in 2018 was the point that we decided we want to grow the agency. We want to bring in more ICs. We've added a part-time assistant, kind of all of that. And so it was a natural fit as a teacher to take that role.
Like the training?
Yes.
Oh, wow. That's a lot on your plate.
Yeah. As I'm saying this, I'm thinking like, I don't get paid enough.
Letters to Luann. That's not
sorry, Luann.
But I like that part. I think I just naturally fit into that teacher role. So I like to nurture and like, how can I help you grow your business? How can I help you find a niche? What can I do here and there? And I kind of have the system in place now as far like a checklist. Like we start here and then I'm going to send you off to do this kind of training. When you finish that, come back and we'll talk about XYZ. So I'm more in like a support role there. Not that mom isn't involved. I mean, she's just a phone call away, but sometimes she's a phone call away in Egypt. So I'm just more easily accessible.
That's great. How many ICs do you guys have now? It's a few.
We have 3 right now. We had one pass away earlier this year.
Yeah, I remember that.
Sorry.
Yes, it was unexpected. It was hard. It was not going to do this. It was in March. So it was, kind of right after. So it almost 5 weeks to the day. So it was really hard to lose Will. And then, it was eye-opening for us though. Just in things that we weren't doing in our business that we needed to do, as far as like having that exit plan and what happens if with my mom or with myself. You never know. I could get hit by the mailbox, or not mailbox.
Or you could, or something. Don't get hit by a mailbox.
I could get hit by the post office truck. There we go.
Or something is, what if you wanted to go back to teaching? Or what if your sister, just like some kind of succession planning. I think when we were in corporate jobs, or at least when I was in a corporate job, that business continuity was always a focus. Like what happens if, or who's your backup, or how do you do this? But for our own businesses, when it's sometimes just us, or us and one other person, or us and a spouse who maybe couldn't care less about, travel or working in travel, I think we're all realizing more the importance of having those backup plans, because we owe it to our clients. And it's hard to think about, but it's something we should all have in place.
Yeah, it definitely was a life lesson. I was also so thankful though for what I learned in Playbook, because basically I shut down my calendar. Luann did as well. My mom did as well. But without automation, like there's no way that I would have kept. I just talked about everything that I do, and then add on that, taking over. Honestly, she was our top producing IC, and she has high-end luxury clients that she was the best agent. That's all I can say. Like she held hands from the moment they were ready to talk trip until all the way they got back. So to step into that role and not have them feel it, automation was the only way that I made it through that. And just some of the systems and prioritizing, and then even just the Playbook family, like just to lean in and be like, hey, what do I do in this situation? How do I do this? I would have been lost.
So I'm going to take us, we're jog back a little bit, and then we'll come right back to this, because that's it all kind of leads together, right?
It does.
So that's let me say I'm sorry for your team's loss. It's a huge hit on any team to lose a team member. Tell me a little bit, before you guys got to that point, why did you join the Playbook in the first place? Because you're speaking to a lot of the things that we've covered in the Playbook, right? But why did you join in the first place?
So it's actually not a why, it's a who. Stephanie Medina, which we always joke about, because Medina and Will Medina, obviously they're related. Not really.
If people don't know what they look like, I encourage you to go look at a picture of Stephanie and look at a picture of Will and see how funny it is that people thought they were related.
I think
put that in the show notes. Do like a side by side. But she is, I'm in Texas, and she's a local agent, and we actually met, I think, on a wedding fam. I don't even know. We've known each other for a long time. We happened to be on a fam trip together, and she was, I think, currently going through Playbook 1. She's an OG. And she could not say enough good things about not just the course, but Will and the people she was going it through, and everything that she was doing in her business. And her model was very similar to mine. So she does destination weddings, and she does a lot of honeymoons. And she was like, I'm not just using it for my destination weddings. It's also going into my FITs, and you have to do this course. So that, I think, was like, when was Playbook the first one? The beginning of 2018?
Beginning of 2018.
Yeah, I'm going to defer to you guys because I don't remember.
Okay. So
I know it was 2018, but my memory is very unreliable.
I am pretty sure that we were in Huatulco, and it was like March 2018.
That sounds about right.
And she was talking about this, and I was like, well, I'm not sure. The next month is when I had my 2 weddings traveling together, and my mom said, make a decision.
Do it.
Left teaching in May, and then I'd already joined the tribe, and I was like, oh my God, Will is amazing. I have to be part of this. This is yes. And so as soon as he opened it up, I paid within minutes. Signed up. And it worked because I wasn't teaching anymore, but I love school. I loved school growing up. I loved college. I went back and got my master's partly because my school paid for it, but partly because I love it. So taking a class was not a hardship. But yeah, I think day one, I sat down with my glass of wine because Will told me to. And and I was ready and taken my notes, and the rest is history. I mean, yeah, I don't know where I would be at this point. I wouldn't have the volume of business that I have without everything from the playbook.
I like that you said taking a class wasn't a hardship. Like, I think that's really key, because sometimes you hear people kind of, we all get shiny object syndrome. You see this course or this thing, and should I pay for it? And sometimes that can feel like a burden. Oh, I have all these things I need to do. Or you feel competitive with other people who are doing things, but you chose to look at it as an opportunity. Like, it's not a hardship. I get to do this. I get to learn and sit down and follow, this course with this group of amazing people who also all want to be here and, invested to be here. So I like that way of looking at it. It's different than what you hear sometimes.
Absolutely. And I know there's different models now, but I loved the live version. I know Will took away our ability to be on camera after Playbook 1, because I guess you guys were all, I don't know, distracting or troublemakers.
I don't know. That was such a smaller group though, because I think there were only like 12 of us in the first one, 12 or 13.
Yeah.
But what was supposed to be a 90-minute class, and I'd be so curious to hear Mario's perspective sitting on the other side of the room. It was supposed to be like a 90-minute class, and I think we went into 3 hours almost every single week. Like that eye roll.
So first of all, Will cannot blame that on the class. Let's be 100% honest. That man could talk. So that's he had every intention of keeping it to 90 minutes, and the introduction would be 90 minutes. So it might have been the class, but I highly doubt it.
Yeah, I didn't realize you turned off the camera. I didn't know that happened later. That's funny.
Yes. So we didn't have our own little, we didn't have cameras or sound, but we could still use the question box and the chat box, and that thing would blow up. We were still probably on the calls for 2+ hours.
Oh, I'm sure.
It didn't stick to 90 minutes.
Never.
I'm sure.
Never.
Yeah.
Because
I really think that.
It's a lot like what the happy hours are like now, with everybody on camera and everybody raising hands and everybody chatting. Those get wild too.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
I stopped planning dinners or things like that on days that he was teaching. So it was like, I mean, it's pointless, right? Like 90 minutes, dinner would be done, sitting on the table, and then 90 minutes later, it would be reheated in the oven. That's no, absolutely.
Yeah. Absolutely.
But it speaks a lot. Oh, go ahead, Ashley.
Oh no, I didn't. Go ahead.
I was just going to say it speaks a lot to the group and how how that whole community has come together, because it is a conversation. Like, we bring to the table the topics, we bring to the table the things that we want to speak about that week, but then it's more of a collaboration, a conversation about what works and what doesn't. And we bring to the table, hey, these are the systems that we use. Then everyone that's involved starts talking about what they're using and why it works. And it's not this is the way that it needs to be done. It's this is the concept of why you're doing it, and now go apply it to what you're doing. Right.
Yeah.
I think my biggest advice though, for anybody that is thinking about doing it, is make the time and set aside that day or that night, and then the next day to implement. Because you have to, it builds on itself. And so if you don't make that time and you go from one to the other, you'll get lost and you'll get behind, and then you never want to pick it back up. So that's my biggest piece of advice, is just make a schedule and stick to it every week, get it done.
Yeah. It's a commitment, and you have to commit to yourself. If you're going to invest the time and money, you have to do the work, because it will build on itself. And then, once you're 2 weeks behind, it seems insurmountable. Like, it just seems so overwhelming that you won't pick it back up again. I agree with that.
Yes.
You were already, so 2018, you have quite a few years in travel under your belt. Like, you were not new. This wasn't new to you at all. What do you think you learned from it that you were able to instantly see a difference in your business?
Everything.
The everything.
Well, there's a promotion for it.
I know. Just cut that out. Just stick that over here.
No, but I think honestly, just the approach to it. And I think I can't even prioritize, but the ideal client and defining that. And that looks different. I have several different ideal clients based on what I do, because I don't just do weddings, but really focusing in on that and what does that person look like, sound like, and being able to turn people away. No, you're not a good fit. I think being given that permission to say no, thank you.
Yeah.
Was huge. the just like we call them tasks lists in our CRM, but that automation, having those emails, and like for my wedding groups, those pre-departure, having that set up and the reason behind it, and it answers so many questions. I guarantee you 50% of the people still don't even read it, but just having it in there and being able to say like, per my email last week,
Oh, my favorite.
But the 50% that do read it then become like mouthpieces for it with other people, like if you can convert half of them and then they tell their friends, then that covers your work for you too.
Yeah.
So it does work.
And then I think just the whole like client intake, I didn't have any of that. Like a referral would come in and to be like, all right, well, yeah, should we talk or whatever? I didn't have a scheduler in place. I didn't have an intake form. I didn't have a nurture sequence for after. Like none of that was even on my radar. I also, again, had more time because I wasn't teaching Monday through Friday, 7 a.m. till whenever. And so I could kind of implement that in, but that made a world of difference and then freed up more time for more clients. So it was just like a cycle. And then obviously the Playbook group, like I'm in there every day, looking up something, using the search feature, asking a question, commenting on somebody else's, like, I don't know. So everything is my answer.
That's a good answer. I accept that answer. Are you comfortable, and you don't have to give the number, but maybe like a percent, like how has your business grown in the last 5 years since the Playbook? I mean, I know we can't attribute everything, though I would like for us all to take credit for that. I know we can't attribute everything to the Playbook, but like, how has your business expanded? And do you think that any of that can be linked back to this course?
I think I would say 95% of my growth can be linked back to the course.
It's amazing.
I went from the most weddings I'd ever done in a year prior to Playbook was 2.
Mm-hmm.
And again, that was organic. I wasn't asking for them. It was just word of mouth, or I'd do one. And then the next year somebody was getting married and came back to me kind of thing.
Yeah.
And now I limit my calendar to 10 a year because I still want to do my Europe and my FITs.
And you limit it, like you're putting that limit on. You could do so many more.
And it means I can also pick and choose, and I can say no to a 5-room wedding that's not going to be contracted, and say yes to the 125 wedding.
Mm-hmm. Or no to the people that want the hotel that won't work with travel agents or won't work with a tour operator, and yes to the ones that do.
Yes. Or no to the ones that it's November that want to get married in January. It's like, no.
It never happened.
Lesson learned. They canceled, by the way. That's I think one of the most interesting things that you said before was about being able to, and you just touched on it again, but being able to say no and being able to pick and choose. And I think that was one of the things that people probably found most surprising when I stepped into leading DWE was I was turning down some business, and I was very vocal about it in the group so that people knew you do not have to take every group that comes your way. That's by setting things up the way that we do and attracting the clients that we work to attract. We're not trying to grab as much business. We want it to be a good fit for us as well as for the couple. And so do you think some of these systems that you've put in place, do you think they've helped your couples as well as as you're going through?
Yes. I mean, just even like the communication with my brides and grooms, like again, how the Playbook taught us, like I didn't even have that on my radar. That is a huge tool in and of itself of how it helps the couples, the organization, the pre-departure. I mean, every part of it is helping the couples. And I think I also give the couples, and if they're okay with it and their guests are being, as they usually are, I'll send out an email to everybody on the guest list that just says, hey, leave Bob and Nancy alone. And if you have any questions, they need to come to me. If you have any questions about traveling, about your flights, about, where to go, what to pack, that comes to me. Yep. You don't need to ask them any questions other than what color you should wear to the wedding. Like that. And I'll be very blunt. And I think that is a huge relief for my couples because it just takes that off their plate. Yeah. I don't do any of the wedding planning portion, but I'm happy as well, though, to step in if they're not getting answers, and to kind of help there. So I can't even tell you how many, it's typically the brides that come back to me and just say, I don't know, I couldn't have done this without you. Yeah. And I would never want to do it again without you.
Well, hopefully you don't have to do it again, but
I do a lot of second weddings. I haven't had a repeat wedding client yet, but
We were just talking about this
We
morning because I think I'm about to have a repeat one, and I'm like, well, you at least you know how we work, you know how this is all going to happen.
I know. I mean, I was just thinking about that in my head. Like my first one was 2014 and they traveled in 2015. We're almost to that 10-year mark. It's possible.
Yeah, it is possible. Oh my gosh. Well, how then? So for someone who hears this and they think, okay, this is all great and you guys sound awesome, but I don't care about weddings. I know you've taken a lot of what you learned in the playbook and applied it to other kinds of trips. So tell us about that and how that works.
So I think again, it's the same. I feel like I'm just on repeat here. It's the same things that I do for my wedding groups that can apply to regular groups. So our travel with groups, or sometimes it's not even a travel with group. It's I have somebody that wants to do a river cruise in Europe. And I'm like, great. Do you think you have any friends or family that want to go with? And it turns into 5 rooms. Yeah. It's the same thing. It's the same skills that I'm using. It's the same automation series. Everything is exactly the same. And then I also take a lot of that and just put it over to my FITs. I have an ITL client for my FITs. I have a client intake form and a system, and this is how I follow up. I didn't even mention the biggest thing. I charge fees. I didn't charge fees before Playbook. Like, you know, we were one of those no fee agencies. Like, we don't cost you any extra. That is not the case anymore. Like, you want to talk to me? Here's my fee. Yeah. I mean, everything has translated into from my wedding groups to regular groups to just FITs. So I think if somebody is not interested in weddings, this is still a good course if they're interested in doing any group travel, or they just want to know how to better build their business.
Yeah.
I know we have people that are in the community that did it thinking weddings and have since transitioned to other niches.
Absolutely.
Haven't left the group. They are still in that group.
Yep.
It's nice to have that variety too, because there's going to be a time, like you mentioned this at the beginning, that we talked about it in the last episode of, you know, sometimes you just need a break from it too. Like I will be the first to say that, especially after COVID, I just needed a break from weddings. I needed a break from, it's very high stakes. It's very highly emotional. There's a lot that goes into it. And sometimes I don't have the energy to deal. So being able to like turn to a different type of travel, but have it be just as streamlined, just as automated, just as like, I don't want people think the word like templatized is bad. They think it's cold and impersonal, but I don't see it that way. I think it frees up so much of your time so you can be more personal, like so you can have the time to sit and like chit chat with someone, because all the like grunt work is being taken care of in the background, and you get to have those times to really connect with people.
And that's why these couples are paying your fee, and they're
right.
It's because you are experienced enough to know that these are the questions that your guests are going to ask, and we already have it. They're going to receive it on this date, and it's already being addressed, and you don't need to worry about it, and we have you covered. Like that's one of my favorite things that Will used to say was, we write the email once with love.
Yeah. Once
with love, and then it gets put into our system, and we know that 90 days before the wedding you're getting this email, and it talks about that's what you need in travel and things that you should have and tips that you need to have covered and everything like that. It's all written out, and your guests are getting the information that they need. I think Melissa, you tell me, I don't know if your experience has been the same, but when we receive our reviews back, it's a lot of DWE kept us informed the entire time of everything that we need, and I didn't send a single one of those emails.
Same. Like I said, when I had to close my books back in March, I had groups traveling starting in April. And so, I mean, just having all of that already in place saved my hiney, because I would have forgotten like, oh, shoot, for the DR, they need this code or whatever. It was already in their system. It was already in their reservation. It just automatically went out. And then if a question came back in, then it was brought to my attention like, oh, that must have gone out last week, and I could just follow up. I also think the biggest, it's not a compliment, but for me, like just the fee thing, my fee has steadily gone up, and I will still present it now. And it's the highest it's ever been, and kind of go through my spiel. This is everything that's included, show some of the tools. Here's my fee. And they go, oh, that's it. I go, shoot, the best. Should have doubled it. That's it. Okay. And it's not a small fee.
Or when people say, when you get to the end of your bit and then they say, okay, how do I pay you? Or how, like before you've even brought up fees. Well, how much do you charge? I mean, like You've
Yeah.
already sold them on everything that's involved in the process and everything that you handle from start to finish, that they're asking you to pay you, which
yeah.
is amazing.
Yeah. I've had a couple grooms that have had, like, I have my credit card and I'm like, wait, thank you, but hold on.
That's amazing.
I think that was one of the more important decisions I had to make. I think I took my first consultation after everything happened, maybe 2 weeks afterwards. And it was
Really?
one of
That
the,
soon?
yeah. And it was one of the most important decisions I had to make was, am I going to charge the same fee? That's, I have been behind the scenes for the longest time, but out in front of people, it's a different story. And in the end, I made the decision that we're not charging that fee because of Mario sitting in this seat. We're charging that fee because of everything that DWE comes with and the experience that we know you're going to have all the way through you walking down the aisle, right? And afterwards. So I moved forward with the fee, and it's one of the best decisions we ever made.
Absolutely.
Sorry, Ashley, I cut you off.
No, it's interesting. I just don't doubt yourself like that. Like, I mean, it's that thing when somebody says, well, why should I pay you to do what I could do in 10 minutes? And I'm like, well, I've spent 9 years learning how to do that in 10 minutes. You haven't. It's the same thing. Like, you were around all of it. And it's what the agency offers, not just what the person offers. And that's where these systems too make it easier to train people and bring people on board, because let's say you're at the point where you need to hire an assistant, like you need a VA or you need someone to help you. How the hell are you going to train that person if you don't even know what your own steps are and what your own process is and how everything works and why it happens in a certain order? Like, getting your own ducks in a row. I know I've made hiring mistakes in the past because I didn't have my own process in order. So you talking about your training, Melissa, I'm sure as you brought on more ICs, now that you have this really templatized process, it's really easy for you to bring new people on too.
Oh, absolutely. Step one is like setting up like how people are going to contact you, and let's talk fees. And that's like step one, not like, all right, well, what do you want to sell? And let me show you this login. Like, that's like step 15.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Ashley.
Nope, you go.
It's Melissa. I think one of the most important questions that we can ask is, like, we've gone through a lot of where you came from and how the Playbook has helped your business and things like that. Now that you have yourself established in the industry and you're a successful advisor, where do you see your future going? What is next?
Question.
Wasn't prepared for that question.
Sorry.
So I'm not shy about this. While I love weddings and I love my couples, sometimes their guests are challenging. So my ultimate goal is to have one of my ICs come on to weddings with me and then me transition off, kind of
completely, or just selling?
I'm sorry.
Like, would you come off weddings completely, or would you still have the consults and book the couples, and then that person would just take on like the guest bookings?
So yes, I would close the consults in the beginning and then hand it off. Perfect. Ultimately, wanting them to take the playbook and then them figure out how to run those consults with confidence, and just take over kind of the wedding division. So anytime weddings come in, I just send them that way, because I want to focus more on groups and Europe groups, especially, which again is going to take all of the same, but I just need more time to focus on that. And again, bringing in more ICs. Yeah. So my role, as I said, is to turn into my mother who does groups in Europe and travel half the year. So that's the route I will go eventually. But right now I'm still loving my weddings. And I think it's kind of my age too. I think maybe as I get older, I may not connect as well, although I'm doing a lot of second weddings. So you never know.
I think one of my most fun groups that I've had so far was the second wedding. They were amazing.
They've already done the whole serious one. Yeah. And they're like, we just want to go have fun. We want to drink with our friends. And it's like, okay,
exactly.
Here you go.
That we can do. I can help you with that.
Yep.
Is it ever hard? I mean, your mom has obviously set an amazing example, and you just said yourself that that's who you want to be when you grow up. But is it kind of hard finding your own place, like to separate yourself from your mom, or to be different, or kind of carve out your own niche, or does that not matter?
I haven't encountered that.
Okay.
It's been, she's let me just be who I want to be. And I think, again, because I kind of went the all-inclusive wedding route, and that's not her thing and really has never been her thing.
Anyway. Yeah.
It just kind of stayed that way. And then even with Europe, like that's not stepping on her toes anymore. In fact, she'll get some Europe FITs come in. She's got a travel with group going. She doesn't want to handle their pre and post that they want to, go to Venice for a few days before and Zurich after. That comes to me. So we just, I think, let each other be who we are. I say that now. We'll see. We'll see. You never know what's going to happen. Yeah.
I love that. Well, before we get to our infamous lightning round,
infamous already.
Ashley, did you have anything else that you wanted to cover while we're on?
No, I've always thought your story is so great. Like, so many people come into travel from a totally different business. Like, there's very few people in this industry that have just like started in travel and stayed with travel. And so I think it's cheesy, but it is inspiring for people who might be listening to this thinking, I want to get into travel, or I have my foot in the door and I don't know how to quit my full-time job, or is it scary to walk away? Like, you've done it. So many people have done it. And wouldn't you say, because I had this experience, that once you quit, your business just exploded?
Yes.
Yeah. Because you have so much more time.
Yes. I mean, I just looking at what I did in 2017 versus 2018, and I taught through May of 2018. Like, I taught until the last day of school, but my business doubled.
Yeah.
I mean, it was insane. And I was already on a growing trajectory, but that just helped. And then taking Playbook in 2018, implementing it in 2019. I mean, we know what happened in 2020, but going into 2020 was record breaking for not only me, but for our agency as well. And then the best thing about COVID is it sucked to reschedule and cancel and all of that. But in the end of 2020 and into 21, you could go to Mexico and have 100-person wedding. At home, you could have 10 people. Mm-hmm. So, I mean, that just also exploded. It was one of the few benefits, that and flight flexibility. I like that too.
Cheap flights for a minute.
Yes. But as far as like, I can't tell you how many teachers I meet every time we go to a romance travel forum or one of those, and I connect with people and it's like, oh, surprise, surprise. Yes, you're also an elementary school teacher. So I think it's a natural fit as far as what we have to do in our daily life and keeping all of our ducks in a row and herding cats, as I said in the beginning. Like, that's just part of the job, and it transitions very easily. I just did it backwards. A lot of people start doing or do the Playbook first and then start transitioning out. And I jumped in with both feet and then did the Playbook.
This just popped into my head while you were talking, but I wonder if a lot of, like, if having a lot of teachers in travel right now is a byproduct of COVID. Teachers just went through so much during that time that's I wonder if enough of them just said, it's we're doing something else.
So I taught at 2 schools in my 12 years, one for 3 years, the other for 9. Mm-hmm. And that 9-year, there was so very little turnover. And I am still friends with some of them. And so I see on social media, I don't recognize half of the staff anymore.
Yeah.
And that all happened in the last couple of years. So I really think, they all were like, get me out of here. And I want to go as far away as possible. Take me to Mexico, take me to the DR. Like, how can I get there? And they're turning to travel. So it would not surprise me if we see even more.
Absolutely.
So who do you think is worse? Parents of your kids or wedding guests?
Oh.
I had a wonderful school, really supportive parents, but there's always one in every class.
Just like there's one guest in every group that just makes you crazy.
I don't know. I don't know the answer to that. Maybe wedding guests. Just because, like, I don't have a principal to be like, get in line. You know what I mean?
You can send them to me. I'll be your principal.
I need you to talk to Miss Ashley.
Exactly. There was a travel agent early on that told me that she had a man's email address. It was just an alias. It just goes right to her inbox. But that if somebody was getting out of line, she would just copy in like the man email and people would snap to it like that.
Seriously.
Genius. Yes. So Mario, no offense, but in the travel industry, most agents are women and most of the higher ups are men. And we do get looked at like, can I talk to your boss? I'm like, sure. Her name's Luann.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Unacceptable. That is completely unacceptable.
Yeah.
And it's changing.
Not
We
to
love the
mention
brands
Ashley
that
to
are
run
really
laps around me. That's
No, but it's, oh gosh, this is a topic I could get into for hours.
sorry, I
But
didn't mean to do that.
no, it's fun. But then like the difference of, when we travel as women, being travel agents, and you're interacting with like the sales teams, and you're interacting with like the wedding people and the DMCs and all of that. The first time I had a man on my team and I brought that man with me on a trip, all the attention just shifted to him. Like every manager, every GM, every wedding, but like, and he, to his credit, would say, this is Ashley's thing. Like, you have to go talk to them. But it's just wild, the difference. So I'm not surprised if that happened in a school setting too, because it kind of happens everywhere.
Absolutely. We had that happen with Charles. I mean, Charles and I
really?
got married in 2019, and he'll come to events now, and people that didn't know us before, so newer suppliers or ones that changed roles, they'll talk to him like he's the decision maker. And it's like, nope, there's a few ahead of him.
Ashley, I feel like this is an appropriate time to tell people about the shirt that I asked you to wear to this episode, and you decided not to wear it.
I had a different shirt on that I was going to wear, and then I spilled coffee on it this morning. Like, I got ready this morning knowing we were going to record, and then I texted Mario and I was like, well, I spilled coffee all over my shirt. So I'm just throwing on a t-shirt, but don't let me forget I have to change, because I can't record the podcast wearing my feminist is my second favorite F word shirt, which is what I had on up until about 10 minutes before this. And then I remembered to go change really quick. But who knows? Maybe it'll make an appearance. Maybe we'll start sending subtle messages with our shirts.
It's coming back around for sure. For sure.
Yeah. I love that.
All right. Time to our favorite part of the day, lightning round. Melissa, this is just where we go through. We want your quickest and most honest answer. First things that pops into your head. I just slurred through that. Welcome to my second glass of wine. All right.
How'd you get to go to that event tonight? This is
right? Exactly. Yeah. This is going to be great. First things that pops into your head. We do encourage explicit language. So by any means, use whatever comes first.
Yes.
Ashley, do you want to kick us off?
Sure. So if you could live anywhere in the world, Melissa, where would it be?
2 answers: Paris for city life and somewhere in Tuscany.
Oh, I like the dual answer, because those are very different places.
Yeah.
Are you more a city person or a country person?
I've never lived in a big city, so no, I don't think that I could survive. But Paris is one of those, like, I go to Paris once or twice every year, even if it's just for a night or two as like a layover, just because I love Paris. But Tuscany is like day in, day out, like walk through the vineyards. I love wine. So yeah, why not?
Get lost in Tuscany. I've never been to Paris, but I could get lost in Tuscany. I love it.
Yes.
What is your favorite curse word? And do not hold back.
Former teacher and me. Fuck, because it's a noun, an adjective, and a verb.
Nice.
Wait, but I want to ask the teacher questions. What were your like teacher swear words? Like, what is
that's a good one.
Kids? We said fudge a lot. I tried to just avoid them all for fear that the wrong one would come out.
I could see that.
Yes,
that would be me. Something would definitely slip out.
Fudge would last 2 seconds with me. And I would be fired. That's the end. That's Ashley,
what's your least favorite word?
I'm going with Mario. Moist.
Oh, that doesn't bother me. Why? Even Mario's face right now.
It just made my skin crawl, like saying it.
All right. What's your love language?
I have never read the book or taken the quiz.
Okay. Well, just interpret that how you will. Like,
yeah,
makes you feel loved.
I think I'm a quality time person.
Okay.
I like to give my time and spend my time. So whatever that would fall under.
And then once that chemistry wears off, what turns you off?
I can't do clingy, needy and clingy. Like,
that's a good one.
No,
it is a good one.
Yeah.
Obviously, on this call, I think we already had this one answered. Cats or dogs?
Dogs.
Yeah.
Nothing against cats, just dogs.
Yep. Absolutely.
Okay. What is your cocktail of choice outside of wine? Because I know you're a wine person.
Mojito. Because I would never make one at home. That's my vacation.
I was just about to say, so bartenders hate you.
I know.
Did you ever have one of Will's mojitos?
No.
Okay, you are coming to South Florida. We are having one of Will's mojitos. I've got the recipe down pat. It's phenomenal, and the first one you'll be drunk. It's
Deal.
One.
Save me a spot on the couch. I'll need it after.
Are we going to share this recipe, or because someone's gonna ask?
Not publicly, absolutely not. You got to come over. You got to have a cocktail. That's
Love it. Love it.
what's the biggest travel mistake you made for yourself?
I don't know. I haven't booked transfers before. Like I've gotten to an airport and realized, oh, I don't have a way to get to the resort. I've never done that for a client ever. But for me, more than probably I can count on one hand.
I think that's actually gonna happen to me this week. I should I leave tomorrow and I don't know that I have transfers for the entire week. I'm gonna have to look into that.
So I leave on Sunday and I'm not sure if I have transfers.
Are we going to the same place? Are we going to Vallarta? Okay, all right, I'll see you there.
Yeah. Yeah, but I have a sticky note right here next to me to ask, like, are transfers part of this?
We'll,
you still have time. You can get, but the good thing about Puerto Vallarta is they have Uber. Like
They do.
Uber. So Uber and taxi is really easy there.
Yeah. In fact, one of our Playbook people just messaged me this morning and she gets to Vallarta today and realized she doesn't have transfers. And she was like, is there a taxi stand there? Yes.
That one's good.
Well, worst comes to worst, you and I will find each other. We will get we'll get a taxi. We'll get there. That's
I didn't have FOMO about this until this very second. Like, I was like, I just got home. I've been gone for over 2 weeks. I don't need to leave again. And now that I'm starting to see people get there and check in, and you guys are talking about it, and I haven't seen the two of you together. I haven't seen Mario in person since May, and I'm trying to even think of when the last time I saw you.
RTF.
Oh, yeah. Okay. So June, not that long ago. But
And I just saw Mario. I got to hug him like 2 weeks ago.
Yeah.
We'll see. There you go.
I'm out making circuit right now. I'm everywhere. That's
everywhere. All right. So last question. What is on your bucket list? What are those big things that you still need to check off?
So in life, bungee jumping, because I've gone skydiving, but I've never done bungee jumping. So that's on my list.
Your brain.
And then travel is Iceland, because I want to see the Northern Lights, and Africa. And I had major FOMO on your trip. I know it was like number whatever for you, but gosh, I've got to get there.
I haven't even posted the good stuff yet. Our favorite place was the last place we went to, and I just haven't gotten it together. Well, I shared on Instagram, but not on Facebook. And it was, if you even have a dream of going there, go. But go soon, because it's a more intense trip. Like, it is more active, and it's not one I would want to wait like until I'm older. There were some older people on our trip that really struggled with how active it was.
Mm-hmm.
So, stay in shape and get to Africa, because that's a trickier one.
It's on my list. 24 for sure.
Safaris or just going in general?
Both. South Africa, because I want the wine and the penguins, and then I want to do a safari.
Yeah.
I'm gonna need one of you ladies to escort me, because when I was watching Ashley's post, I was like, listen, I am a city boy. That's put me in Paris, put me in Rome. I will go any of those places as many times as you guys want by myself. I don't care. Put me in Africa next to a lion or hanging over the edge of a waterfall. I'm out.
They have bungee jumping there. At Victoria Falls, they had bungee jumping on the bridge that goes across, so you could do that there.
Done. I say the three of us go.
Yeah.
Or Playbook Retreat 2024.
2024. That's like tomorrow.
That'd be just a little bit of a leap from Mexico. That's
yeah. But if you do but Mario, you could get the city, because you could just do Cape Town and a safari. I mean, Cape Town is a big city. It's like 4.5 million people. Yep. So it's like a big city, beach, mountains, penguins, safari, all in one place.
I'm in. There you go.
Yep.
We just planned the whole retreat. We're done.
I love it.
Melissa,
pick dates and tell me when to go.
Melissa, I want to thank you so much for joining us today. You did phenomenal. Thank you very much for your insight. It was so good to hear your entire experience of just kind of where you came from, where you're going, how the Playbook helped you get there. Is there anything else that you want to tell everyone while you're here?
Oh, no big announcement, but I just think like your life is missing something if you're not part of this community. I mean, my life is better for it, and I am so thankful for the two of you. And everything you're doing to keep it going. Like I was already devastated in February, and life would have been so much harder if I knew this was going away.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Actually, we should thank Melissa because she was so helpful at the beginning when we were trying to figure out how to keep this going. Melissa shows up for everything. She's texting me before, can I take notes? How can I help? Like I'm so grateful for you and everything you've contributed over the last few months, because it does take a village, and everyone who has stepped up has been amazing. So thank you. You're a big part of that too.
You're welcome. And thank you for having me. I'm excited and happy to be one of your first guests.
See, it wasn't scary.
It wasn't scary.
All right. Thank you so much. Everyone have a great day and join us again. We'll talk to you soon.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Running a travel business may have its challenges, but with a dash of humor, the right tools, an amazing community, and a lot of wine, success awaits us all. Raise a glass with us and toast to your remarkable journey.
Don't forget, if you're ready to take the next step in your travel career, one where you can focus on developing your niche, attracting leads, converting them into new clients, and automating your systems, you can build the business of your dreams. If you're ready, join us in the Playbook Inner Circle at jointheplaybook.com. We can't wait to see you inside.